Hi, it's Chris Grimm, and this is Deep Work Fast, 20 minutes or less. And I'm going to take you into some topics that you can then take and hopefully do your deep work with. Okay, so this week I dropped a blog on Monday, like usual, and it is called Know Thyself. I'll make sure to put it in the chat if Mission Control doesn't do that before I do. If you haven't read it, I urge you to do that. If you don't notice, I don't know how much you pay attention to social, Facebook, Instagram, whatever. There is definitely a trend at the moment to talk about being authentic. And it bothers me most of the time because I think, first of all, that's not that easy. So we shouldn't just throw that around. So I wanted to kind of break that up. So this week I wrote Know Thyself. And next week I'm going to be tackling authentic in our expression to other people. And I wanted to start with Know Thyself first because what I find is that if you are doing any kind of thinking about your future, which I hope you are, thinking about what you want to be different or better in your life, however long that is, you need to be doing it, I believe, as a coach, from a place of clarity and with some confidence. Because if you don't, let's just talk about this, right? So if you start thinking about what you want to be different in your life, and you actually start like dreaming about, fantasizing about, having thoughts about what it would be, most likely, if it's a big change, you're going to feel some fear. Because even though we might want change, most of us have moments where we want something to change. Most of us also are afraid of change because most of us believe, and maybe in your world this has been true, that change is often messy, unpopular with the people around us, maybe expensive, maybe we could make a mistake and not be able to reverse whatever happens. And so to keep ourselves clear and calm and confident is important. And I believe that the way to do that is to do some self discovery, anchoring into whatever it is that you want on the inside, so that you have some balanced thinking along with whatever emotions might come up if in fact you decide to move forward with that change. I'm going to give you two examples. One, because I just had this, it's fresh and it's a really great success story. A client who's a good friend of mine, he's been a client multiple times for years, talked about taking his family, leaving his job, taking his family, and going to live abroad. His wife is not originally from here, so I know she wanted to do it. I think their child wanted to do it. I don't actually really know. All I know is we talked about it for years. And he would say, "Oh, I want to do this." And we're talking about doing this. And then, of course, that fear would kick in. And all of a sudden, his thinking about the change started to dissolve, right? He couldn't tolerate it, right? He didn't have enough of a plan for the change. He hadn't really thoroughly spent time thinking about why he wanted that to change, what was holding him back from the change. Now, here's the good news. Today, he and his family are loving their life, living in Paris. He does not have a corporate job anymore. And this was part of that fear. So I just want to stay here with you because everybody's got a version of this story when they think about making any kind of change, incremental or large. And I believe if we're not coming from a place where we're solid with ourself and honest with ourselves and authentic with ourselves, like, what do I care about? What do I want? And this may sound like I'm harping on these things because I say them a lot, but I can't really emphasize enough how important it is for you to be good with yourself, clear and accepting about what it is that you care about. Because what happens when we're not, outside of that fear taking over and potentially keeping us in status quo, because right, that's what most of the time happens, is if any changed thought comes up and we do have that fear, we just revert into comfort. This is why people stay in stagnant jobs and relationships. I'm sure that you know that, right? But we know it intellectually. To override that and to move past it means on the inside, you have to feel ready. And for you to feel ready, you're going to have some real conversations with yourself. So the blog this week is really about that. So whether you want change or not, I still urge you to do some of the self-discovery. You're going to see on the blog that I have a list of questions. I think they're fairly basic questions. I know for some people they are a little triggering because maybe they've never taken the time to self-reflect, to be aware. And then the last one, which I think is sometimes the hardest thing for us, which is accepting whatever your truth is, specifically if it isn't aligned with what the other people in your life want from you and with you, right? So let's talk a little bit about that, because if you go through those questions, chances are something's going to put up either a fear flag, or you're going to be like, oh, I can't go there, because we are generally trained, right? Remember, we are self-protective animals. We are designed to survive and thrive in an environment that can be threatening and hostile. Part of that is our need for community and relationships, right? So belonging, Maslow's hierarchy can show you. If you don't know what that is, I'll make sure I post a link. But those are our basic needs, right? So we actually need for the people around us to want to have us in the community or the tribe. That's how we're part of our survival. So because of that, we tend to, even if we are deeply knowing about what we want, oftentimes we can put that on pause or put that aside so we can please the people we're in relationship with, who we work with, who we live with, right? You've probably been doing some form of that. I know I did in my life, right? So what we do is sometimes we ignore, like I said, reject or repress our own knowing. And those could be things we know about ourselves. It could be the things on the inside of us, like impulses that we really want to go. And like my client I was telling you, he kept saying, we really need to go. I know I need to go, but quitting my job feels really dangerous, because what if I go and do that for a few years, Chris, and then it's impossible for me to come back into the job market? That was his number one fear, right? It's my job to support my family. My income is important for us. If I take 2 years off, can we even do that? And like I said, for a long time, those fears kept him from even considering it and trying it. So it took some sitting with it, getting clear with himself, like, what am I actually afraid of? Do I need to be afraid of that? Is this about my wife, my kid, other people? And what do I need to do to clarify what is real inside me and outside of me versus just what my brain is telling me, because it's trying to protect me? We are self-protective animals, and that's what we do. And so, like I said, sometimes if the external data and feedback from people is, think about it. If he would have told people, if he would have said to me, I really want to move to Europe and I want to do these things, but I'm afraid. And I would have said to him, yeah, it's a bad idea. You're never going to get another job. Dude, just stay where you are. You got it made. It'll be fine. Wait until later when your son's older. If I would have validated his fear-based thinking, chances are all of a sudden he would have been like, yeah, I should be afraid. I'm not going to do it. That's what I mean by, on the outside, we are getting feedback. And oftentimes, even if our internal impulses are telling us to do something, the outside might give us feedback that we shouldn't do that. And then we stay. Happens to people all the time. Another thing I noticed that happens, so if it's happened to you, or it might happen to you, I just want you to know you're not alone, which is oftentimes when people say, I want a new job, but they're afraid to do it. They get the courage to maybe get their resume out. They do some work on that. They get clear. They think they know what they want. And they go, okay, I'm going to try for one job. And they respond to something on Indeed or LinkedIn. And if they get rejected, well, there's that external feedback that tells them, ignore that internal little voice that you have, just stay in the job that you want. They go, oh, got a sign, or I got rejected, feels bad, man. I knew it was going to feel bad. I'm never doing that again. And they hunker down and they stay longer in the job that maybe they hate, or a job where they can't get promoted and there's no opportunity, whatever was causing that impulse to come up. So like I said, the only way for us to override that is to make sure that we spend some time with ourselves, sorting out what is real for you, sorting out as you're answering those questions and thinking, what is my own thinking versus thinking that I've adopted along the way so that I could make my spouse happy, so that I could support my family. And I made the story that I have to continue to do these things because it's my duty to make money for my family. And that might not be wrong. So I'm not saying right or wrong, and I want you to hear what I'm saying. Things can be practical and right, but those same things could be kind of squelching or pouring cold water on your dream. And what I'm advocating for is for you to get so in touch with and understand what's on the inside of you that you can start to then practically make a plan to make real life look and feel more like that dream. Because it's not going to happen alone. No one's going to do it for you. Rarely do I ever see that happening, right? So you've got to bring those things together, right? What's on the inside of me? What do I really want? What's on the outside? And again, you knowing what that is, accepting what that is, starting to realize what starts to happen when you think about it and what you're actually afraid of. And if what you're afraid of is real, because we are all very, very good at taking these potential problems and sometimes believing, because we've seen someone else fail, because we've had people we admired or respected told us it was a bad idea, right? There's a whole bunch of reasons that we project failure or project risk into the future when what we're thinking about doing feels uncomfortable and different than what we have today. The only way to override it, I'm going to say it again, is for you to get super clear about what it is you want and start to understand what helped create this thinking for you. You'll note, if you look at the blog, and I hope you do, that some of the questions I put in there are questions like, what experience of your life now created these aspirations in you? What has helped you do the things you love or create the life that you have right now? And then you might want to be thinking about, like, how did I get here? What about the life I'm living right now doesn't feel fulfilling anymore? And maybe that's okay. Can I just accept that that is the case? Doesn't mean I have to leave it right away or do something reckless. That's not what I'm asking you to do. I'm asking you to get clear with you. And then, like I was saying, next week, I'm going to pull in the idea that this is the critical first step. Oftentimes, and I think popular culture, social media, there's a whole bunch of things that happen in our life. In fact, some people's families, right, teach us that what the external world thinks is more important than what's on the inside of us. Sorry, but it's true, right? You can see it everywhere. In fact, someone was saying to me yesterday, do you think it's social media? And I was like, before there was social media, there was advertising. We've always had messages that we needed to conform. We've always been given lots and lots of messages about what we should be doing, what life should look like, the pressures to buy a house versus rent a house. I don't know. There's a million examples, right? Like, we have been trained our whole lives on what is acceptable in this world, in this country, in your city, in your workplace, in your family, right? And so, because of that, many people live their life, and it could be you, worried about all that outside stuff and the validation and other people and other things thinking you're successful when on the inside, you're not actually feeling that great. So, I want to help remedy that. That's what this is about. Check out the blog this week. I'm probably going to do a short workshop on this because so many people are asking for a workbook and some more materials, and I'll be happy to provide that. If you haven't checked out some of the other blogs, last week, self-protection, there is a workbook already on avi.me for that. It is akin to this topic. All of them come first from a place of you getting to know yourself and accepting yourself, because I want you to be in 100% control, believe it or not. And I know for many people, they think I can't be in 100% control. I have other people that I have to compromise with. I want you to be in 100% control. I want you to be able to create the life that you want so that you don't regret anything at the end of your life. And more importantly, all day, every day, I want you to go to bed and wake up in the morning actually happy to be living where you're living, with whom you're living, the work that you do, the fun that you have. I want you to love that. So I guess that's it for today. 20 minutes or less. I'm right under by a few minutes. I will see you next week. Don't forget to check out the blog, and any feedback for me, I would welcome it. So I'm already grateful to everybody who does give me feedback. Please, please, please don't be shy about it. Sometimes I talk fast. Sometimes these are too long or too short. I want the feedback. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great day.